What's going on, everybody? It's Jacob Soboroff for Why Tuesday, coming to you today from the office of John Bonifaz, the legal director of Voter Action in Amherst, Massachusetts. John Bonifaz actually ran for Secretary of State of Massachusetts. He was the founder of the National Voting Rights Institute, and now today is a member of the Why Tuesday Advisory Board. We thought it would be cool to run through some of the comments, and John's agreed to kind of respond to some of your comments that we've received on the website, and kind of elaborate and give some answers maybe to some of the concerns that are out there. First, I think it'd be great actually if you could tell us a little bit about what you're doing today and the kind of work that you're doing on behalf of voters and voter rights.
Sure. Well, as legal director for Voter Action, we're heavily engaged on the whole question of the privatization of our public elections, the way that private companies more and more are waging influence and control on how we conduct our elections. That consists of electronic voting machines and the way voting manufacturers are essentially determining how we're recording and counting our votes in states all across the country, to electronic poll books, to the maintenance of voter registration databases and the purging of voters, which often ends up being incorrectly done. And more what we're seeing is that there's far less accountability, far less transparency when we allow private vendors to essentially take over key election functions that really should be publicly controlled.
So if it's cool with you, I guess we'll just kind of launch into some of the responses that we got. Low voter turnout makes it much easier for politicians to manipulate the system. In many cases, it's simply a matter of getting more of your supporters to come to the polls. Divisive issues like gay marriage are used to get them there. That's why those issues play a much stronger role in the process than they merit. If a lot more people voted, it would be more difficult to use these issues to political advantage.
I think one of the biggest kind of challenges to those in power is the notion, for example, of election day registration, where people are going to be able to show up and register to vote on the day of the election. And the problem for incumbents there is that they don't know who's going to show up. Right. So low voter turnout definitely enhances those in power because they have a sense of who's going to turn out and the vast majority who are not, and as a result can get away with these kinds of manipulations.
A guy by the name of Jeff Waters says, I did receive a receipt when he was voting, but there's no way to check to see that my vote was counted or not changed in any way. It can't be too difficult to have each precinct post its results online. When you vote, you should receive a PIN number that you can verify your vote was counted correctly. Your vote could be shown online for everyone to see, and everyone could check the tally to make sure the results are right.
We have to honor the privacy of the vote, in my view. And so my reaction to the idea of having a PIN number and identifying each ballot is that it raises the potential danger that one's vote would become known to others. Even though you might think that your PIN number is going to be known only to you, if there's a system out there that identifies every single ballot separately, it opens up the possibility that that vote doesn't stay private. I think the better approach, and again, my view on this is to not engage in recording votes with computerized voting. We ought to have voters mark the ballots by hand or by a non-tabulating ballot marking device for those who have disabilities and are unable to mark it by hand. And then the marked ballot is scanned through an optical scan system, and there's a high threshold of ballots that are then counted by hand for auditing purposes to make sure that what's being counted by the optical scan system. But the problem that's being identified by Jeff here is the notion that we're going to cast our votes in these computers. Computers will count them, and we won't really ever know whether the piece of paper that came out is correct or not. And I think he's absolutely right about that.
Well, look, this has been great. I really appreciate you letting us come into the office.
Absolutely. Thank you.
John Bonifaz, member of the Why Tuesday Advisory Board. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Jake.
Okay, talk to you guys soon.
Take care.
Perfect. Thanks, man.
Great.